Ano ba ang confidential fund na ito at bakit ito importante? Ano ang kinalaman nito sa accountability? Based on Joint 2015-01 of the C.O.A, confidential funds are funds disbursed to, among others, national government agencies for their confidential expenses. On the other hand, confidential expenses are those relating to surveillance activities which support the operations of the agency. So sa madaling salita, ang confidential funds ay pera para sa mga operasyon ng pagbabantay at pagmamanman ukol sa mga aktibidad ng ahensya. While this may seem to be a very specific definition, we cannot help but notice that the joint circular provides very loose requirements for the release of confidential funds to agencies and also requires less specific information and documents in order to liquidate and account for. In Notice of Disallowance number 2024-002-100, the C.O.A disallowed the amount of over 73 million pesos, representing almost 60% of the 125 million pesos in confidential funds. Pwede po ba yung slide? Paki-present. Almost 60% of the 125 million pesos in confidential funds allocated to the OVP in 2022. Equally significant is the fact that this amount was indicated to have been fully spent over the period of 11 days. Wala pang kalahating buwan, naubos na daw ang 125 million, supposedly to fund surveillance of 132 areas. This amounts to 11 million pesos spent per day for these surveillance activities conducted over the holidays. Lumalabas po, mahigit 11 million po sa isang araw ang ginagastos po nila sa surveillance activities. Kasama na po dito ang Pasko. I note that while these numbers are already staggering, this is only a portion of what this committee is investigating and dealing with. In fiscal year 2023, the OVP received $500 million pesos in confidential funds. This includes the 125 million mentioned above, disbursed in 2022. In addition to this amount, spent in 11 days, the OVP was disbursed 125 million per quarter for the first 3 quarters of 2023. The entirety of which has been questioned by the C.O.A through Audit Observation Memorandum o yung tinatawag po nating AOM. In other words, one of the 500 million we are talking about, only about 10% or 51 million has been definitively allowed by C.O.A. Sa 500 million po, halos 10% lamang po ang pinayagan ng C.O.A at sinabing walang problema. At ito po yung nagkakahalaga ng 51 million. When one goes deeper and looks at the liquidation reports for these disbursements, a disturbing pattern and similarity emerges with perfectly round numbers. Ni isang sentimo po ay walang butal. Being attributed to expenses such as medicine and food, paulit-ulit po at parang kinopy-paste ang liquidation ng confidential funds ng OVP. With this in mind, to all but the most biased observers, it should be very easy to see why this committee has chosen to investigate the possibility of gaps in the regulation of confidential funds, as it is possible that we have seen these gaps exploited before our very eyes. What we have seen regarding the usage by the OVP of its confidential funds certainly gives this committee and the country cause to want to find out the facts behind this. Ultimately, to fulfill this august body's mandate of crafting effective laws and legislations to protect our people's hard-earned money. This committee is understandably very alarmed at these reports implying misuse of public funds. In particular, because of the astronomical, almost unimaginable amount of money involved. I must stress at this point that the sheer vastness of these potentially misused funds sets this matter apart from other instances of irregularity and disallowance. These amounts easily surpass the threshold for the crime of plunder under our laws. It is incumbent upon us who are duty-bound to ensure that our legislation and regulations are effective enough to protect the money of the people. to investigate and get to the bottom of these glaring irregularities. As we begin today's hearing, I must make this clear. This committee is not about politics, not about attacks. It is not even about the release or approval of any budget, as some have implied. This investigation is not prompted by any motive other than a desire to make the numbers make sense. This committee and these proceedings are about accountability. We seek to learn the truth of how public money, ang pera ng taong bayan, is being used, whether or not our current laws, rules, and procedures are sufficient to ensure the security and safety of these funds. Maraming salamat po.
Opposing the subpoena issued by the Congress, specifically the Committee on Appropriations, Mr. Chair, I wish to manifest that the letter is dated August 21, 2024. So I humbly submit that during this time, Attorney Powa is already connected with the Office of the Vice President, and I wish to believe that he can enlighten us with respect to the questions to be propounded by the Honorable Valeriano, Mr. Chair.
Attorney Powa, could you please join us?
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
May I be
Attorney Powa.
recognized? Yes. I confirm the statement made by the Honorable Congresswoman that I was already, in fact, the spokesperson at the time, August 21, I believe. However, Mr. Chair, I really do not have the competence because I am not an employee of the OVP. I was only engaged to be the spokesperson at that point. And so I was not part of the drafting of such letter and was not part of anything with that letter. But if there's anything that I can contribute, then I will be willing to do so, Mr. Chair.
Would you like to proceed,
Mr.
Congressman?
Chairman,
Valeriano?
opo, baka...
Mr. Chair, with the indulgence of
Yes,
Representative
Congressman
Go ahead.
Nika Sonsi.
Very quickly lang po. May I ask Mr. Chair a clarificatory question on the motion a while ago? How many areas po yung covered nung subpoena to sa SECOM?
132 areas.
Okay, yun lang Mr. Chair. Just wanted to clarify because I heard 32 po. So we just wanted to make sure 132 is correct. That's correct, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much po.
Thank you. Just to be clear, the motion was duly approved with respect to 132 areas. Okay po ba, Powa?
Mr.
Yes,
Mr. Chair.
Attorney
Again,
Powa.
my apologies. But again, I just have to at least state for the record, Your Honors, that the Vice President really did not authorize me to represent her or the OVP in this proceeding po. I really am here because I was part of the invitees doon po sa DepEd invite na pinadala po.
So with that, Mr. Chair, hindi rin niya pwedeng sagutin yung mga tanong ko in regards to the OVP, to the Office of the Vice President.
Opo. Mr. Chair,
Yes, please continue.
gustuhin ko man po kasi hindi po talaga ako authorized. So I'm afraid whatever I say might also be questioned later on, Your Honors.
Okay.
Hindi talaga po ako inauthorized ng Vice Presidente natin eh.
Okay, thank you po. We will now proceed to the next.
Witness resource persons present in today's hearing.
Yes, please continue. With the indulgence of the Honorable J.K.
While going into this room, na-monitor ko po na yung sa OBP po, wala yung mga persons that was mentioned and invited last hearing. Particularly yung SDO po, yung Gina Acosta at saka yung Julieta Villadel Rey, which is the chief consultant. But as Chairman Acop mentioned, may show cause na daw to ngayon. Yung dalawa. Tama po ba? Yung dalawa mismo. Yung chief accountant at saka yung SDO. Tama.
Comsec?
Yes, Your Honor. There was a motion kanina. 5 po yung inisyuhan ng show cause orders, Your Honor. It was Attorney Zulaika Ortonio Sanchez, Miss Acosta, and Miss Julieta Villa del Rey.
Now, Mr. Chairman, just to ask this question. So we cannot, OBP, the Office of the Vice President cannot answer queries from this representation of the members of this committee as of now? Who is the highest?
Wala po kasing
official?
representative dito eh. Ang
Wala?
Office of the Vice, wala po.
Wala po ba? How about the spokesperson, which is Mr. Michael Pua?
As kanina po binanggit po ni Attorney Powa na siya po ay nandito to represent DepEd.
You're here to represent the Fed, not the Office of the Vice President?
Mr. Chair.
Please, Attorney Powa.
Yes, Mr. Chair, that is correct. I am here again because I was part of the list of invitees as far as DepEd is concerned po.
How about sa OBP? You're not already part of the Office of the Vice President?
Wala po ako sa list ng invitees.
No, but hindi, yung official function mo ngayon.
I'm just a consultant po of
Consultant
the,
ng-
of the Office of the Vice President.
Consultant for what?
A spokesperson po.
Spokesperson
Opo.
ng OBP.
Opo.
And you cannot answer queries from this committee with regards to the OBP confidential fund.
Mr. Chair, I'm afraid I'm really not authorized by the Vice President or anyone from the OVP to
But
represent
with regards to the DepEd, you can answer queries. You can answer queries?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So walang OBP dito.
Kanina po may nagpakita, but unfortunately, nawawala na po yata. Comsec.
Chairman, is it correct that certain Monsayak is present? Is he present?
Attorney Monsayak, are you present?
Mr. Chairman, can we ask him
Ayan
to
po.
approach the microphone?
Attorney Monsayak. Do you represent the OVP?
Good afternoon, Your Honors, Mr. Chair. I do not represent the OVP. I'm a private person already, Your Honor.
You are invited in today's hearing.
Uh,
Do you receive invitation? Did you receive invitation from this committee?
Yes, Your Honor. I was part of the invitation, the list of people invited for the DepEd query.
For the DepEd na naman.
Yes, Mr.
Oh,
Chair.
Comsec, is it correct that Mr. Monsayak is invited for the DepEd query? But of course,
Comsec.
you're
Yes, Your
part during this topic being discussed with regards to the OBP budget. You're still part of it, di ba? The time.
No, Your Honor. I left OVP at October 2023, and I'm not part in any way of the confidential funds issue, Your Honor.
Comsec.
Anyway, Mr. Chairman.
Your Honor, Attorney Reynold Monsayak was invited from the DepEd roster as Assistant Secretary for Procurement, Your Honor. Just to clarify.
Okay. Congressman Paduano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. The chair would like to recognize.
They are present this morning. Thank you. Kailan po nyo in-release yung COA audit report nyo regarding the office of the OVP regarding the use of the amount of 125 million under line item confidential expenses? Kailan po nyo na-release yung COA report nyo?
Sino po ang sasagot? Attorney, sorry, hindi ko po makita yung pangalan. Attorney Camora from COA, please proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. As to confidential intelligence and confidential funds, we do not issue any audit reports, just the audit actions, Mr. Chair.
Audit action.
Yes, Mr.
Yes.
Chair.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. Now, when was the confidential fund in the amount of 125 million transferred to the office of the Vice President?
Sino po sasagot?
It was in December.
Attorney Camora?
December.
Mr. Chair, may I be clarified? The cash advance, Mr. Chair?
Yes. When was the fund, the 125 million amount, transferred to the office of the Vice President?
Mr. Chair, the fund was received on December 20, 2022, Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
Thank you. Now, on 25 September 2023, according to reports, kayo po ay nag-confirm, maybe because of reports, na galing po sa Office of the Vice President, na the amount of 125 million confidential funds was spent in 11 days.
Mr. Chair, based on their liquidation reports, opo.
Kayo po ang nagsabi nito in your report.
Wala pong report, Mr. Chair, but audit action po.
Oh, it's an audit action. At
Yes,
kinukonfirm
Mr.
nyo
Chair.
na yung amount na 125 million was spent by the Office of the Vice President in 11 days. And that would be amounting to 11.3 thereabouts million per day. Would that be correct? Tama po ba yan?
Mr. Chair, may I ask for the question to be repeated?
Ano po? Uulitin ko po?
Opo.
Kayo po nagko-confirm na in-spend in your liquidation in the liquidation report that was submitted to you, kayo po na-confirm na in 11 days naubos po yung 125 million confidential fund. Tama po.
Tama po, Mr.
And
Chair.
that is equivalent to spending 11.3 million a day if it was spent, or if the amount was spent in 11 days. Tama po rin po.
Tama po, Mr. Chair, based on
Yes.
their documents po.
And yung 11 days na yon ay nung panahon na from 21 to 31 ng December 2022. Would that also be correct? O tama po ba yun?
Based on their accomplishment report, tama po, Mr. Chair.
And that is at the height of the holiday season, matatapos na po yung taon, di po ba?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
At lahat po ng ahensya ng gobyerno nagmamadali na ma-spend yung kanilang pera na nasa kanilang opisina. Di po ba? Kasi ang nangyayari po, hindi ba, kung minsan, December 31, pinapaspasan po ng mga opisina ng gobyerno ang pag-liquidate po ng mga pondo na nasa kanila. Hindi po ba tama yun? Alam po yun dahil naging controller po ako ng Philippine National Police noong Chief PNP si Senator Lacson at yun ang nangyayari eh. Kayo po ang sasagot, hindi na po siya.
That's correct po, Your Honor.
Yes.
Paki-address niyo po yung chair sa antakantayin niyo po na-recognize kayo. You are Miss Sofia Gemora?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, please continue.
Kasi minamadali po nila ng mga ehensya dahil if you notice, yung buwan ng Disyembre, normally it has four non-working holidays. So, 4 na ang nabawas sa 11 days para gastusin mo. Tama rin po ba?
If I may add, Your Honor, to what Attorney Camora had said earlier, with regards to the 11 days report of our audit team, we are the audit team of the Office of the Vice President. So, looking at the records or the recording in the financial statements, we found out that the cash advance was drawn on December 20, 2022. And on December 31, looking at the financial statements, there was an expenditures recorded of the same amount, the 125 million. So that was the reason why we, of course, it's correct to say that that was the 125 million was expended in 11 days, Your Honor.
Thank you, Madam. Now, because of this, the COA issued a notice of disallowance dated 8 August 2024, disallowing the amount of 73,287,000 from the 125 million confidential funds disbursed by the Office of the Vice President in 2022. Tama rin po ba?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
Now, may I know kung ano po yung mga dahilan po ninyo bakit nag-issue po kayo ng notice of disallowance doon po sa expenditure on confidential funds by the Office of the Vice President? Pwede po bang malaman yung rason po ninyo?
Attorney Gamora.
Mr. Chair, our reasons were indicated po at the ND. I'd like to make a rundown po. Yung may issue po sa payment of rewards nila, may issue sa payment of charging payment for tables, chairs, desktop computers, and printers to the confidential fund, and also a non-submission of the revised accomplishment report, Mr. Chair.
Yun po yung official reason why you COA issued a notice of disallowance. Tama rin po.
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
Now, may I ask, meron po siguro kayong breakdown ng expenditure of the confidential funds? Meron po ba kayo?
Mr. Chair, meron po sa accomplishment report.
Yes, and yung breakdown po ng expenditure ng 125 million, nasa inyo po sigurado yun. Tama rin po.
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
Now, may I know kung saan po nagastos ng Office of the Vice President yung 125 million? Was it spent in accordance with the rules, regulations, and protocol on the expenditure or on the use of confidential funds? Nasunod po ba yun?
Yes, Mr. Chair. As indicated sa accomplishment report po, na-liquidate naman po nila based on confidential expenses as required by the Joint Circular po, Mr. Chair.
If I may, alam naman po ninyo yung section 4.8 of Joint Circular number 2015-01
Yes,
on
Mr.
the use of confidential funds.
Opo, Mr. Chair.
Now, categorically, yung po bang items na kung saan ginamit yung confidential funds ay naaayon po dito sa circular na ito?
Opo, Mr. Chair.
Kung naaayon sa circular na ito, bakit kayo nag-issue ng notice of disallowance?
Mr. Chair, as to yung first finding, meron po kasing specific requirement ang joint circular na document na hindi po nila na-submit or nag-submit sila pero hindi po sufficient siya to answer the requirement of the joint circular, Mr. Chair.
Na-mention kanina ni Chairman, the Honorable H.O.R, na in the accomplishment report of the President, if I remember it right, meron pong ginamit na yung surveillance in 132 places. Tama po ba, Mr. Chair? Yung
Areas po yun.
narinig ko na yun.
132 areas po.
Yes.
Yung 125 million, parang ginamit po yan in 132 areas.
Yes, and accordingly, it was 100% compliance. Hindi po ba sa tingin ng COA, medyo kwan ito? Medyo imposible?
Mr. Chair, parang based on parang okay lang naman po siya.
Kami po ay gumagamit din po ng intelligence fund. Ay nanggaling po ako sa service. At alam po na mahirap gawin ito. I will conduct surveillance in 132 areas in 11 days. Tapos kayo ngayon sa COA, sinasabi ninyo na posible pala ito. Samantalang kami on the ground na gumagawa nito noong ako yung nasa serbisyo, nahihirapan po kami. So, what is your basis na pwedeng sabihin na posible ito, Madam COA?
Mr. Chair, there are also deficiencies here.
No, tinatanong ko lang po kayo kasi sa mata po ng COA, yung mag-conduct ka ng surveillance activities in 132 areas in 11 days, para sa amin po na gumagawa nito in our use of intelligence funds na ako po yung nasa servisyo, nahirapan po kami eh. Tapos sa mata pala ninyo, posible pala ito. Tama po ba yung aking kaisipan?
Mr. Chair, ang identified lang po ay number of areas, pero pwede din pong i-consider yung kung ilan po yung kung ilang tao po yung pinag-spendan ng funds, Mr. Chair.
But the liquidation report does not say so.
Yes, Mr. Chair. But,
In-assume na lang ninyo yun eh.
Mr. Chair, meron po silang submitted na mga documentary evidence.
Okay. Mr. Chair, those would be the questions that I would ask, I have asked from COA. Yun po yung aking nihanda. The others would pertain to Madam Gina F. Acosta. So, marami pong salamat, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to interpolate. Thank you.
Nakaka-worry lang po talaga itong 125 million for 11 days. For the information of everybody, I became the mayor of Santa Rosa, and yung confidential fund ko is like 7 million per quarter. It's really hard for me to use, to utilize that amount for 3 months. And this amount is so huge that needs to be investigated rightly. Dito po sa Mr. Chairman, you have presented something, and I tried to secure the documents that you have presented a while ago. So I'll be dwelling on this information that you have given this committee. I hope that the COA have the liberty to say something on this disallowed portion of that 125 million, and that was issued by COA, no? Yung 73 million. Doon po ba sa purchase of information, lumalabas po dito that 14 million is the purchase of information, and this was spent for 11 days. So basically, it is 1.2 million per day for the purchase of information. What do you mean by purchase of information? Can you kindly explain to us what is a purchase of information? Mr. Chairman.
Sino pong sasagot? Attorney Camora, please answer.
Mr. Chair, based po on the joint circular regarding the guidelines on COA, confidential funds, purchase of information pertains to those information necessary for the formulation and implementation of program activities and projects relevant to the national security and peace and order.
And with the submission of the Office of the President, or Office of the Vice President, regarding to this 14 million that was submitted by them, you deem it right to disallow the 14 million
Mr. Chair, 14 million purchase
of
purchase
information.
of information. It's not part of the notice of disallowance, Mr. Chair.
The 14 million is not part of the 73 million.
It was allowed po in audit, Mr. Chair.
The purchase of information was allowed.
Yes, Mr. Chair. The only
14 million for the purchase of information, you allowed it.
yes, Mr. Chair.
And your basis is what?
Their documentary evidence of payment.
What are the documentary evidence that was submitted to you? If you have the liberty to say it to us.
Mr. Chair, since it's already on the merits of the case, since it's already touching on the merits of the case, and we can only comment on those that we have submitted to the through the subpoena to SESTECOM, and since the notice of disallowance is not yet final, we cannot yet discuss on the merits of the notice of disallowance.
Okay, I respect that. So, medyo na-worry lang ako dito sa purchase of information that amounted to 14 million for 11 days. And you have approved it.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, since it's not yet final,
Did you
it's
have
only
this, ano na lang po, hindi naman to mag-incriminate sa inyo, no? So, yung bang 14 million, may kasama mga equipments na binili?
ibang item po, Mr. Chair, ang equipments.
So, yung purchase of information is all about information or data that you have gathered that you have
OVP.
approved sa COA.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Congressman Fernandez, if I just make
Yes,
point
yes,
of
sir.
clarification.
Deputy Speaker, Jay.
May I just be informed as to what type of information was purchased?
Before you answer, Attorney Camora, let me first recognize the Honorable Joseph Stephen Paduano Pabanglingkod and the Honorable Vice Chairman, Senior Vice Chairman Benvenido Abante. Please continue.
Mr. Chair, again, we cannot comment on it since it forms part of the merits of the case. But I would like to inform the body po that the entire ND is still subject to appeal to the adjudication of the commission proper. These are just the judgment of the auditors.
I do understand the position of Attorney Camora. My question is, what type of information? Kasi sabi po dito, purchase of information. Anong klaseng information yun? Is it,
Mr. Chair, I could only say that these are part of what is required under the joint circular, which is this information necessary for the formulation and implementation of programs, activities, and projects relevant to national security and peace and order.
okay. I'm just curious kasi ngayon ako nakakita ng item na purchase of information. So anyway, I'm sorry, Congressman Fernandez, and I ate into your time.
Hindi kasi, Mr. Chairman, I agree with Congressman DS
Congressman
JJ.
Dan Fernandez.
I agree with him, no? Precisely because if you were going to compute 14 million divided mo sa 11, that is 1.2 million for the information that wanted to be purchased by the Office of the Vice President and was approved by the COA. And that worries me a lot, no? If this information entails, siguro kung mga 4 months yan or in 1 year yan, acceptable yan. But in a day, 1.2?
And if
Purchase of information a day?
pwede po bang isang tanong lang?
Yes, sir.
Yung po bang 14 million na yun na information, sa isang tao lang po ba yun o maraming tao po yun?
Mr. Chair, hindi naman po yun sa isang tao lang.
Okay, just to ilan pong tao? Kung alam lang po ninyo.
I don't have the information right
At
now.
kung magkano po kada tao ang binigay para po sa purchase of information na yun? At kung saan po mga area?
Mr. Chair, details na po siya ng audit, so we could answer through if we are duly issued po sa Sabina Resistente.
Is there any motion? Do I hear any motion?
Yes, well, I move that ano ba? I move that we subpoenaed the Duterte,
The detailed information.
all those documents pertaining to the purchase of information, the detailed information about it.
Is there any second to the motion?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Duly seconded. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is carried.
Secondly, Mr. Chairman, this is the payment of reward. Sa payment of reward, you utilized 10 million. The Office of the Vice President utilized 10 million. And this was spent for 11 days. So almost $1 million a day for the reward, payment of reward, cash. Cash. Same thing, COA. How this 10 million was utilized daily by the Office of the Vice President? Can you kindly educate me on how this happened? $1 million a day for payment of cash reward. Was there any news about the cash reward that was given by the Office of the Vice President to any individuals for that matter pertaining to this payment of reward in cash by the Office of the Vice President?
Mr. Chair, again, it's part of
it will be a part of the documents of the detail.
Although, Mr. Chair, we have indicated in the ND the reason why the rewards were disallowed. They were not able to satisfy us with the
Okay, I'm sorry.
documentary
I'm sorry,
requirements.
COA. You mean this 10 million is part of the disallowed by COA?
Yes, Mr.
I'm sorry about it. So sige. Okay, so disallowed to. Okay, sige. So have they given you some information on or the detailed information about this payment of cash reward?
They have submitted compliance documents, Mr. Chair, but we deemed it not sufficient.
Yeah, go ahead.
We deemed it not sufficient to answer the requirements of the joint circular.
Can we also in that case, Mr. Chairman, may I move to subpoena also those documents pertaining to the payment of cash reward?
There is a motion by the Honorable Fernandez to issue subpoena duces tecum with respect to the payment of cash reward.
Ito naman pong
Is there any objection? Is there any second to the motion?
Second, Mr. Chair.
Duly seconded. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is carried.
Punta naman po tayo sa rental of other incidental expenses relative to the maintenance of safe houses. How many safe houses have the Office of the Vice President have?
Mr. Chair, again, it falls part of the merits. However, may I just say,
Hindi naman
No,
merits
na.
naman yun, ano, Gloria? Tinatanong ko ilan lang yung para malaman namin kasi of course merong mga opisina ang Office of the Vice President sa buong Pilipinas. Are those offices that are being mentioned by the Office of the Vice President all over the country constitute also as the safe house of the OVP? Ayan, nakalagay dito. Meron kayong maintenance ng safe houses eh. Do they have like 10, 18, 20, 30, 40?
Mr. Chair, I do not have information right now.
Can you kindly submit to us also? I move also to kasi Mr. Chairman, before we move for that, kasi 16 million 16 million was spent for 11 days for the Office of the Vice President doon po sa mga safe houses for maintenance. Maintenance of the safe houses, 16 million was spent for 11 days for these safe houses. Kaya nga tinatanong ko po, ilan po yung safe houses na yon at bakit gumastos tayo ng 16 million for that purpose for 11 days?
At kung saan?
Yes, at kung saan yung mga safe houses na yun. So I move that we subpoena also those documents.
There's a motion by the Honorable Dan Fernandez to subpoena the information with respect to the safe houses of the Office of the Vice President. Is there a second to the motion? Duly seconded. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is carried.
Yung po purchase of supplies which cost us 35 million for 11 days. Madam Gloria. For purchase of supplies, ano po ba itong mga supplies na to? Ito na po ba yung mga chairs, tables, desktop?
Mr. Chairs, part of it po yung table chairs that were disallowed. And some of it, naka-indicate po as reward, so it was also disallowed.
When you say disallow, were you able to get some information who supplied these purchase of different items? Do you have the information about the contractors and the suppliers?
Mr. Chair, based on the joint circular, these supplies, materials, and equipment for confidential operations are not done through regular procedures without compromising the information.
I know. What I'm trying to tell you is that wala namang bidding siya eh. Hindi naman siya nag-bidding talaga ang confidential fund. What I'm trying to point out, Mr. Chairman, is have they submit the supplier or the contractor of those purchased items? Siyempre, may nag-purchase, may nag-supply niyan eh. Kilala nyo ba? Nagbigay ba yung information about it?
We only received documentary evidence of payment, Mr.
Hindi mo sinasagot ang tanong, Gloria eh. Ang tinatanong ko kung merong sinapit na supplier saka contractor. Titingin ka pa sa likod. Huwag ka na tumingin sa likod. Wait. Ano bang position mo sa COA?
Attorney 5 po, Mr. Chair.
And what is your responsibility in the Commission on Audit?
Review of the audit po.
Review
of the audit.
Review of the audit? Ano ginagawa ng review of the audit?
Tinitingnan ko, Chair, yung...
So, nakikita mo na. Huwag ka na tumingin sa likod. So, anong nakita mo doon? So, binigay sa iyo yung 35 million na purchase ng goods for 11 days. Siyempre, nakita mo, 35 million, 11 days. Wow, ang bigat nito, 35 million, 11 days. Sino yung nag-supply nitong mga supply na to? Di ba? Yan ang trabaho mo eh. So,
yes.
Sino yung mga supplier?
Mr. Chair, kasi...
Sino yung mga supplier na nakita mo?
Sa merits na po kasi...
Oh my
merits na po.
Ang point po ni Congressman Dan Fernandez, hindi ka ba nagtaka? Yun po yung gusto niyang ipunto. Hindi po ba kayo nagtaka na nagkaroon ng purchase na worth 35 million in 11 days? Tama po ba yun?
Yes, oo. 35 million. Ako naman, kahit ako, mayor ako eh. Di ba nakita ko, nag-purchase ako ng ganito, 35 million in 11 days. Magugulat ako. Ano ba to? So ikaw, bilang ikaw yung parang COA, nakikita mo yan, nakita mo 35 million in 11 days. Supplies. Sino supplier nito? Di ba? Hindi maapektuhan ang merit nito. Tinatanong ko lang kung sino yung supplier. Now, kung binigay nila yung supply, binayaran nila, at nakita natin above board, so what's the problem? Okay. But unfortunately, magugulat ka, 11 days, 35 billion for purchase of supplies. Kaya tinatanong ko lamang, sino yung supplier?
Mr. Chair, hindi po ako makapagsabi ngayon ng...
Alam mo, Gloria, nagsisinungaling ka. Don't. Please. Sabihin mo lang kung sino yung supplier.
Sir, ang sinubmit lang po talaga nila is documentary evidence of payment. Hindi na po yung...
So wala yung supplier?
Opo.
Are you sure? Wala doon sa sinabit sa inyo?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Because we moved for those documents a while ago.
Yes, Mr.
Kasi
Chair.
pag nakita namin meron doon, tatamaan ka dyan. Sige ka.
Mr. Chair, ang sinubmit po nila sa amin is yung documentary evidence of payment, but wala po yung mga
Wala yung supplier.
suppliers.
Okay, sige. I will accept that momentarily. Okay. Mr. Chairman, punta po tayo dun sa provision of medical and food aid. 40 million for 11 days. Again, wala rin yung supplier dito?
Wala din po, Mr. Chair. Kaya part din po siya ng
Did you ask the Office of the Vice President to submit all the contractors and suppliers of all these supplies and the medical and food aid?
We asked them to explain po the...
But did you ask for the supplier?
Normally, Chair, hindi po.
Why?
We just do our audit based on the requirements under the
Sige, I
joint
will
circular.
accept that. But Mr. Chairman, at least I think it is imperative for us to find out the contractor and suppliers of all those supplies that was purchased by the Office of the Vice President. Not because ano tayo, what do you call this? Medyo hindi natin pinupuntirya. Thank you for that word. Hindi natin pinupuntirya yung mga supplier and contractor. What we are after, Mr. Chairman, is the amount, the huge amount that is what's spent for 11 days. And this is something extraordinary. Hindi naman po siya ganun ka-simple that 40 million will be spent on medical and food aid, 11 days. Tapos yung supplies, 35 million for 11 days. Purchase of information, 14 million for 11 days. And ito pa, yung lastly, yung payment of incentives on traveling relative to the confidential operations. How does it work? Paano nagbabayad ng incentives or traveling? Can you kindly explain it to us? Because we spent 10 million in 11 days.
Mr. Chair, they gave an explanation on this po that those are actually rental of transport vehicles related to confidential activities po.
And accordingly, hindi tayo kumukuha ng mga receipt galing sa mga operators ng mga vehicles.
Mr. Chair, ang requirement lang po kasi is documentary evidence of payment.
Okay, thank you so much. With that,
Are you done?
Yes, I'm done, Fernandez, sir.
Tapos na po ba kayo?
Okay, am I done? Okay.
Ma'am, sinubmit po sa COA ang accomplishment report ng fiscal year 2022 sa confidential funds. Tama po ba ito?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
Ayon sa accomplishment report, fully spent ang 125 million. Tama po ba ito?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
Ito pong 125 million ay naka-breakdown into more specific items. Am I correct?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
And to enumerate how the 125 million was spent, item 1, purchase of information. Item 2, payment of reward. Item 3, rental of other incidental expenses relative to the maintenance of safe houses. Item number 4, purchase of supplies. Item number 5, provision of medical and food aid. Item number 6, payment of incentives for traveling relative to confidential operations. Is this correct?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
So can you confirm that this is the breakdown reflected in the accomplishment report printed on the screen right now?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Yan po yung nasa utilization report.
Opo. Napansin ko lang po, ma'am, na kung titignan po natin yung mga amounts, very specific, no, whole number po siya. 14, 10, 16, 35, 40, and 10. Walang butal, ma'am? Buong buo?
Mr. Chair, dito po sa accomplishment report nila. Ganyan po, buo-buo.
Buo-buo, oo. Hindi ito estimate or budget, di ba? Hindi naman ito estimate or budget. Am I correct?
Yan na po yung utilized amount nila, Mr. Chair.
So, what we're seeing is the liquidation, actual cost. Ito po yung mga binili na medical, food aid, saktong 40 million po ang total cost and price. Am I correct?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
Walang sukli, walang kulang. Tama po?
Mr. Chair, yan lang po yung contents na utilization report po nila, Mr. Chair.
Sususugan ko lang po yung tanong ni Deputy Speaker. When you say utilize, ibig sabihin, nabili na, nagamit na. Tama po ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Please continue.
Nakakapagtaka lang kasi syempre pag kunyari mamamalengke ka, tapos nagbigay ka ng 5,000 pesos na pamalengke, usually bumabalik kasi yung mga goods nandoon at may kasamang sukle. Dito lang, sakto lang yung amount, no? Talagang buo lang siya. Matanong ko lang, ma'am, dito po sa mga napaggastosan, may kasama po ba itong mga resibo?
Mr. Chair, meron po silang sinubmit na documentary evidence of payment.
Wala.
Documentary evidence of payment po.
Meron.
Meron po.
Okay, and these were already requested from your office to be submitted to the committee. Am I correct? Subpoena justice tecum kanina, no?
Hindi po yata yun kasama, Mr. Chair.
So therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that we request the same documents and I move that that said documents be submitted to the Committee on Good Government. The documents pertaining to the liquidation report with regards to item, ito na po lahat ng items siguro para mapag-aralan natin na po. From items A up to F, Mr. Chair.
Is there any second to the motion? Duly seconded. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is carried.
Thank you very much. So dito po ma'am, sa mga nabili pong mga medical and food aid, 40 million. Alam niyo po ba kung anong klaseng medisina at pagkain ang binili?
Wala pong information, Mr. Chair.
Wala po kayong information, so hindi po sinamit ito?
Hindi po very detailed ang documentary evidence of payment.
So, there are documentary evidence that were submitted, am I correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Are you in possession of these documentary evidence right now?
Right now, Mr. Chair, wala po.
Can you expound on these documentary evidence that you are saying that were submitted, however lacking?
Mr. Chair, that is already parts of the merits of the case, so we can only comply po through subpoena.
Okay, I therefore move, Mr. Chair, for although meron na po tayong subpoena jus tecum para sa mga documents. No? Matanong ko lang, ma'am, kanina niyo pa binabanggit yung case. Ano pong kaso itong kanina niyo pa inuulit na nababanggit?
Mr. Chair, pa-clarify po.
Sabi niyo po kasi this is part of a case, this is part of a case. I think you mentioned it maybe 4 or 5 times. Can I just be informed of what case you are pertaining to?
Mr. Chair, yung notice of disallowance po kasi is an audit action of COA na hindi po final. So, they have an opportunity po to appeal the notice of disallowance. So, we cannot just divulge information about it po. Kumbaga, it's still ongoing. It's not yet final.
I understand that, but what is the case? You said there's a case. Ano yung kaso?
Mr. Chair,
Kasi when you say a case, usually it's a case filed in court, a case that's pertaining to a certain activity already in the judicial system. So what case are you pertaining to?
Mr. Chair, may I correct myself then that it is not a case, but the audit actions po of
Therefore, there's no
COA.
case, ma'am.
It is a case pero it is civil in nature po.
Oh, admin. So and anyway,
Mr. Chairman.
but in any case,
Yes, Congressman Paduano.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I do disagree with the position of COA. Well, in fact, you were issued a subpoena to the CTTO with regards to the notice of disallowance, di ba? And you submitted it to the committee. Tama? Tama?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
Oh, sinabit nyo nga yung highlights eh. All we're asking is to justify this. We're not talking about the case. We're just talking about if indeed the ND that you have all the highlights of such yung ginawa nyo with regards to the budget of OBP is indeed tama. So what's stopping you from submitting all those attachments? Kasi nandito na nga eh. Di ba?
And before you answer, just to clarify, COA, let me read the provision under the Rules of Procedure Governing Inquiries in Aid of Legislation. Section 1, Power to Conduct Inquiries, Paragraph 2 provides that the filing or pendency of a case before any court, tribunal, or quasi-judicial or administrative body shall not stop or abate any inquiry conducted to carry out a legislative purpose. So kahit po yung mga sinatawag po nating sub judice, hindi po kami covered nun. So please answer ko ba? Please identify yourself. Attorney?
Erwin Lapitan.
Attorney
Mr. Chair.
Lapitan, please continue.
Yes, Mr. Chair, i-clarify ko lang po na ang NT po ay audit decision po. It's an audit decision by the auditor po. And the nature of a notice of disallowance is civil in nature po.
There is no case yet filed.
It's actually a case before
No,
the case ay...
you cannot prosecute. Kasi kayo mandatory lang just like
Yes,
this committee.
yes, we agree, Mr. Chair,
Diba?
that we don't have the authority to
Also,
prosecute.
what's stopping you from giving us all those attachments?
Mr. Chair, it
Just
may affect...
sandali.
Yes.
Tapusin ko ako, Chairman. What's stopping
Yes,
you
continue.
from giving all those attachments being requested by this committee? What will influence you?
Mr. Chair, it may affect the adjudication process by the commission proper. And
Sandali.
Yes, Mr.
Sandali. Isa-isahin po natin. Ano yung first reason nyo? Isa-isahin muna natin. It will affect the adjudication of the commission proper.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
In what manner?
Of course, Mr. Chair, the commission, the COA has a constitutional power to adjudicate. Therefore, any information that may affect its adjudication procedures or processes, and considering that the notice of disallowance is not yet final, then
But you know, inquiries in aid of legislation, kailangan namin dito mga dokumento. Now, eto, notice of disallowance, di ba? Hindi nyo, ito yung highlights. Oh, how can you justify to us if you cannot submit the attachments and the documents that gives the result of this notice of disallowance? Simply, it cannot influence
yes, Mr.
the commission proper.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we will comply upon issuance of the subpoena.
Hindi, nag-issue na nga eh.
Yes.
Di ba, Mr. Chairman, nag-issue na nga?
Yes, we already...
Hindi, ang hindi ko lang accept yung reasoning nyo na it will affect the possible decision of the commission proper because well, in fact, sabi ko nga kaya nung nakaraan pa, it will take 6 months, di ba? Tama, 6 months, di ba? before it goes through with commission proper, di ba?
Mr.
Kasi-
Chair, the appeal process.
Kaya nga may appeal, because of the appeal, di ba? Now, ang hindi ko maintindihan, but yung sasabihin, you will give that reason na you cannot submit because it will affect. Well, in fact, I talked to your chairman yesterday, and it is not a valid reason. And please don't push me to invite your chairman dito. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Before you
Mr.
continue,
Chair.
Deputy Speaker, the Chair would like to recognize the presence of the Honorable Edward V.P. Maceda of 4th District, Manila. Please continue, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. You mentioned, Attorney Lapitan kanina na there's a process of appeal, no? Has an appeal been made?
As of today, as of this date, Mr. Chair, we don't have information on whether the concerned agency appealed.
Okay, so in other words, wala pa. Are you gonna give a different answer, ma'am, or
Attorney Gamora.
Mr. Chair, in addition to what my colleague has mentioned, usually po pag nag-appeal yung agency, of course it's the CP that makes the decision, so they ask the sectors, the office from where the NP
Ma'am,
for
my question is, just yes or no.
po.
Has an appeal been made? Yun lang naman po yung tanong ko sa inyo.
As far as-
Umapila daw po ba sila?
As far as
May appeal
info
na po
po,
ba?
wala pa pong order sa amin na mag-comment on any appeal po.
Okay, so in other words, wala pa rin.
On the part of ICO, wala
Yeah,
pa po.
kasi wala pa rin kayong, okay. So, going back lang po tayo dun sa tinatalakay ko kanina. Kanina meron po nabanggit na, can you show the slide please? So, ito nabanggit po ito ni Congressman Fernandez kanina. Yung rental ng safe houses, again, saktong 16 million po ang total. COA, can you please inform us how many safe houses are we talking about?
Wala po akong information on the number of safe houses, Mr. Chair.
So, wait, okay, I'm trying to digest this. Walang number of safe houses?
Mr. Chair, since our audit is just based on the joint circular, we just determine based on what is required under the joint circular.
No, but
Mr. Chair.
you conducted an audit, correct? So, and
Yes.
in your audit, you should have determined the specifics and details of the items, correct?
Mr. Chair, it's not one of the items required under the joint circular. What is required is the documentary evidence of
Correct.
payment.
So, in the documentary evidence that was presented to you, the question is, how many safe houses?
It was not identified in the documentary evidence of payment. What was identified were the number of people who received the payment.
So so medyo suspicious po itong 16 million para sa safe houses. Kasi kayo na rin ang nagsabi na walang documentary evidence ang isinabit patungkol sa mga detalye dito.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Based on your audit experience, are these red flags?
Mr. Chair, hindi pa ganun ka-extensive ang experience ko, but since these are confidential...
Okay, anyway, so kunyari mag-focus po tayo sa 35 million na purchase of supplies. Again, do you know the details of these supplies?
just what is included in the documentary evidence of payment, Mr.
And in the
Chair.
documentary evidence that was submitted, what were the specifics of these supplies?
There's no identification, Mr. Chair,
So basta bumili lang ng supplies.
based on the document, Mr.
Hindi
Chair.
sinabi kung ano, kung ilan, kung anong klase, kung saan gawa, basta bumili ng supplies.
It's not a requirement po under the joint circular, Mr.
Yes, no,
Chair.
I mean, I'm asking to say yes or no. Correct. So basta nagsubmit na sila, bumili kami ng supplies. Kasi, we need to thresh this out because if we want to come up with a law, it is important for us to find out where the loopholes in auditing are. Diba? Kasi dito nakikita natin, may mga specific amounts na malalaki, kaso lang, based on documentary evidence, hindi supported kung paano ginastos. Hindi supported kung may resibo, hindi supported kung ilan. So I think, this is another piece of legislation that we can push forward, Mr. Chair, dahil ito naman pong ginagawa natin is in aid of legislation. Ito din po, balikan din po natin, ma'am, ito pong provisions ng medical supplies and food aid. Nabanggit po ba kung kanino po ibinigay o sino yung mga recipients itong food aid na po ito?
Mr. Chair, naka-identify yung names dun sa documentary evidence of payment, pero hindi po pwedeng mag-divulge ng mga pangalan.
Okay. But yung...
Mr. Chair, can I interject, please?
Please continue.
Issue to the questions of...
Vice Chair Abante.
Ano nakalagay sa documentary evidence? Ano nakalagay doon? Nakalagay ba doon yung liquidation nila on, for example, yung 35 million na supplies? Is that properly liquidated in the documentary evidence?
Mr. Chair, yung liquidation report po nila is maraming documents po. The documentary evidence of payment is just that po, yung evidencing the payment. But the liquidation report, there is the liquidation report. There are these
Iba
other
yun, iba yun.
reports po.
Iba yung liquidation report.
Yes,
The documentary
Mr. Chair.
evidence.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Supporting
Ano
document.
pagkakaiba nun?
Yung liquidation report po is yung parang cover letter po. Yung pinaka liquidation voucher nila. Naka-specify po doon kung sino yung it is certified correct by kung sino man yung SDO, certified nung kanyang immediate supervisor, and then certified by the accounting that the
Oo,
supporting
certified.
documents are
Pero
complete.
I just would like to know, kanina, Deputy Speaker JJ asked about the 35 million supplies, no ha? Okay, and then he asked about kanino binigay yan, ano nangyari dyan. So, doon pa sa liquidation report, nakalagay doon kung kanino binigay ang supplies na yan, kung ano yung mga supplies na yan, doon pa nakalagay sa liquidation report.
Sa liquidation report mismo, Mr. Chair, wala po doon kasi ito po yung general na the whole pertaining to the whole amount. Yung documentary evidence of payment po yung details.
Okay, how can you properly audit if, for example, like, kulang-kulang ang nakalagay sa liquidation report? I mean, the thing is, it is the duty of the office of the Vice President to liquidate, correct? And
That is
in the liquidation report, it is the duty of the Vice President to tell the COA kung saan nagamit yon, kung anong klaseng supply yon, kung magkano ang pagkakabili nun, at kung kanino ibinigay yon. And that should be in the audit report, am I right?
Mr. Chair, wala pong audit report pagdating sa confidential fund. We just issue the audit actions after we audit the liquidation report.
This is very interesting, Mr. Chair. Why don't you have an audit report?
Mr. Chair, we just, based on the joint circular, andun po yung functions ng ICFA. Andito lang po is issue an AOM and SRND address to the COA, to the head of agency, Mr. Chair. And then keep records of all those issued na audit actions po. And then prepare.
What are you referring for? What are you referring to? Are you referring to the? It says you're saying that there is no audit report. Am I right?
Yes, Mr. Chair. There is no audit report, but there are audit actions that are issued.
There are audit actions.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So where do you put the audit actions as reported? What do you call that?
The audit actions, Mr. Chair, are the audit observation memorandum, the notice of suspension, and the notice of disallowance.
Mr. Chair, is that submitted to this committee? Not yet, no. So I'd like to make a motion that we subpoena the documents, the audit of action, di ba? And the liquidation report to be submitted here in this committee. So I move, Mr. Chair.
Is there any second to the motion? Duly seconded, hearing none. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Ma'am,
Thank you.
sir, may tatanong lang po ako. Pwede po makita uli yung slide kanina. Ma'am, pakibaba po, pakibaba. Pakibaba po. Yung kaninang itemize. Yung kaninang itemize po. Yan, pakilakihan po ng konti. Ma'am, yung dito po sa purchase of supplies worth 35 million, wala po kayong idea kung ano yung item nito?
Kung ano lang po yung nasa documentary evidence of payment.
Which is, ano po?
Which is yung names po nung recipient.
Hindi, pero yung supplies, wala.
Wala po, Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
Hindi po ba kayo nagtaka na yung nilagay po nilang 35 billion dito ay eksakto?
Mr. Chair,
Napakalaki po nitong amount tapos eksakto pong 35 million. Wala man lamang pong butal like 34,950,000 or 31,450,000. Hindi po ba kayo nagtaka na bumili ng supplies tapos eksaktong-eksakto pong 35 million?
Mr. Chair, if you will look at the notice of disallowance po, extract na po namin yung part nung supplies which are part of the reward. Kaya sa notice of disallowance, hindi na po siya ganyan na buong amount.
So ano pong ibig sabihin niyo? Pakipaliwanag po ninyo.
Based on the after po ng AOM po kasi nag-submit sila ng mga compliance, so may mga na-explain na portion, so kaya sa notice of disallowance po, it's not exactly the same as kung ano yung nasa utilization report nila.
So magkaiba po yung nakalagay sa utilization at saka dun sa
Sa notice of disallowance po, Mr. Chair.
So kaya
Kasi,
nga po, kaya po ninyo lockdown.
Opo, kaya po
Dahil
may,
merong medyo may problema. Tama po ba?
may
Okay.
in-account na po.
Yun po tinatanong ko. Tama po ba? Kaya po ninyo lockdown dahil meron pong problema kayong nakita.
Yes, Mr.
At isa po sa problema, dahil nga po dun sa amount, parang medyo hindi po nagtutugma
Yes,
sa
Mr.
ebidensya po na kanilang sinumite. Tama po ba?
Yes,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Sa susunod, yung provision of medical and food aid, eksakto rin ito, 40 million. So, hindi rin po ba kayo nagtaka? Bakit eksakto pong pagbili ng medical at saka food aid?
Again, Mr. Chair,
Again,
pinis namin sa documentary evidence of payment. So, hindi po exactly ganyan.
Hindi so, ibig sabihin, iba yung utilization na nilalagay nila dito, iba rin po yung pinepresenta sa inyong ebidensya. Tama po ba? Or documentary evidence. Tama po ba?
Sa pagkakategorize po nila, Mr. Chair.
So, magkaiba po.
Yes, Mr.
At kaya po ninyo lockdown dahil may disparity. Tama po ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So, posible,
Mr. Chair, I just would like to ask, are we referring to the
35 million and 40 million.
confidential, the complete confidential fund of the Office of the Vice President?
Ito po.
Are we referring on that? Ibig sabihin, these are the 2 years na since the
Ito
Vice
po yung
President was President.
ito po for the period covering December 21 to 31 of the confidential fund. Yan po. Kasi po, nakita po natin very glaring po sa letter D o item number 4, purchase of supplies, eksakto, 35 million. At dun sa provision of medical and food aid, 40 million. Eksakto rin. So medyo nakakapagtaka lang po dahil wala pong kabutal-butal at eksaktong-eksakto po yung supplies. Okay, so yun lang po. I will now recognize the...
Unfortunately, I'm not done with my questions. So I can just complete my line of questioning.
Okay, please,
para lang-
with the indulgence of Congresswoman Luis Tro, the Deputy Speaker will
With,
just continue
of course,
with his
Kong
interpretation.
Jinky, if I may continue. Thank you. I just want to highlight COA. Are you familiar with COA rules regarding disbursements of confidential funds and intelligence funds? Rule 4.15?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Of the Joint Circular, Mr. Chair.
Yes, yeah. Nakasulat po doon sa 4.15.3 that the details and supporting documents on transactions that are classified are in the custody of the agency and kept in the vault, which may be inspected by the ICFAU if the circumstances so demand. Am I correct?
4.15, Mr. Chair.
0.3, yeah.
Yes, Mr. Chair. This pertains to classified information. This pertains po to intelligence fund.
Yeah. So maybe under these circumstances, this would fall under those circumstances wherein we can demand the documents of the transactions.
Mr. Chair, when it comes to confidential funds, the documents are submitted to the fund.
Okay, fantastic. So pakisabit na lang po sa amin at nagsabi na naman po kami. No? Ma'am, balikan lang po natin yung line of questioning ko kanina. Yeah, can we go back to the slide, please, Comsec? Thank you. No, doon sa taas yan. Okay, dito po, based sa inyong audit, saan pong areas ito? Sa Luzon, Visayas, at Mindanao? Ma'am, ito, yung isang slide. Yung ginawa po yung surveillance activities, would you know which areas were under surveillance or conducted surveillance in? Was it in Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao?
Mr. Chair, ang information lang po namin is yung nasa utilization report. Yung sa documentary evidence of payment po, hindi naman din po identified.
So wala rin klarong supporting documents doon sa surveillance activities na kinonduct. Am I correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Kasi nakakapagtaka lang, no, ma'am, di ba? So kung titingnan din po natin yung amount at saka yung timing, kailan po ba ito? December 20 to 31. So didn't you find it quite out of the ordinary that people were being placed under surveillance and people were being under surveillance during Christmas season?
We just conducted the audit based on the requirements under the Joint
Kasi
Circular.
nakakapagtaka, no, itong mga activities na to gagawin sa panahon ng Pasko. Di bilang mga auditors, I think that would definitely call your attention on when actually these activities were conducted. Am I correct?
Yun nga po, based lang po talaga sa Joint Circular yung...
Thank you very much. Vice Chairman Jay, those are all my questions. So maraming salamat
Vice
po.
Chairman Jay, can I interject lang po before you recognize the next interpolator?
Thank you, DSJJ Suarez. Honorable
Mabilis lang
Peruano.
po. Ma'am, you're always telling that it is based on the GMC 2015-01, di ba? Tama? Yung sinasabi mo lagi,
Tama
di ba?
po. Tama
Based
po,
on the
Mr. Chair.
GMC.
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
Oh, now, ito 6.2.3. Ito kasi, Mr. Chairman, hindi pwede nilang sabihin na based on the requirements because dito po, elaborated lahat, di ba? From 6.2.3.1 up to 6.2.3.6, tama?
Tama
Elaborated
po, Mr.
siya.
Chair.
But there is still a provision 6.2.3.7. Tama?
Yes, Mr.
Oh,
Chair.
ano nga? Please read.
Other supporting documents like FAO deems necessary for the proper evaluation of liquidation documents
Oh,
submitted.
ibig sabihin nun, lahat ng mga dokumento which is necessary should be submitted to you. Tama?
Tama po, Mr.
Oh,
Chair.
depende sa evaluation nyo kung kailangan dokumento na to.
Tama po,
Tama?
Mr.
And the
Chair.
question of DSDJ Suarez is all about the surveillance being made by the OBP during Christmas season, di ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Oh, di kailangan yung dokumento dito ng mga detalye nito, di ba? Sa item na yan. Tama?
Yes, Mr.
Oh.
Chair.
Kaya hindi nyo pwede sabihin na based on the GMC. Kasi the GMC 6.2.3.7 provision states that all other documents related to the investigation or to the audit. Di ba? Tama?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Oh. Kaya yung lahat na doon na walang butal, na sinabi kanina ni Chairman, nakapagtataka, di ba? So, dapat, and I know siguro pinasabit yun sila yung detalye noon.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Oh, yun nga eh. Kaya hindi nyo pwedeng sabihin na based on the GMC only. Because the GMC also states 6.2.3.7 all other related documents.
Yes,
Tama?
Mr. Chair.
Oh, di at least nagkalinawan tayo.